Now that we've broken our application up into smaller pieces and have separated out our controllers, we need a way to communicate data between them. In this lecture, we'll learn about emitters and broadcasters and find out how we can use scope.emit and scope.on to send and receive data. Okay, so we've got our controllers separated out now. We've got one controller that handles listing all of the classifieds, and then we've got another separate controller that takes care of adding new classifieds in. And the problem now is that because these two controllers are separated, we don't yet have a good way to communicate data between the two of them. If we think back to our original controller, the way that we were saving classifieds was by taking in the classified that we wanted to save and then pushing it onto this array of classifieds that we pulled in from our classifieds factory. So that's pretty straightforward, but unfortunately we can't do the same thing now that we have our controllers separated out. However, Angular's scope object gives us a couple really cool features so that we can communicate data between controllers. And so let's take a look at those features. They are firstly scope.$on, and on is going to be used in conjunction with either scope.$broadcast or scope.$emit. And so broadcasters and emitters in Angular are used to send messages between scopes. And so because we have separated out scopes now, we've got one for our main classifieds controller here, and then one for our new classifieds controller. These will allow us to communicate between the two. Now, broadcast is used if we want to send messages or data down to child scopes, and emit is if we want to emit that data up to parent scopes from a child scope. And in this case, we need to use emit because our new classifieds controller is a child scope of our main classifieds controller. So effectively, we need to send our data up from this child scope to the parent scope. All right, so let's see how this actually works out. I'm just going to get rid of all of this, and just as a little experiment like we've been doing, let's go over to our new classifieds controller, and then I'm going to set up a quick function on our capture variable VM, and let's call it sendMessage. And sendMessage is a function, and within that function, let's say we want to do scope emit, and we'll just give it a name. That's the first argument. Let's call it myMessage. And then the second argument is whatever we want to send. This can be any kind of string or object or anything we like. So here we'll keep it simple and just say, hey, how are you? All right, so we've got our function set up that will emit a message. Let's now set something up in our other controller, in our main classifieds controller, to receive it. And I'll just come down here below our classifieds factory, and then let's do scope on, so that's going to be listening for that event, and we'll do my message is what we're listening for, and when we receive that event, let's set up some behavior to take care of it. And in this case, let's just log it out to the console. So we can put in a callback, and the first parameter is the event, which will give us some data about the my message event that was sent, and then the second one is the actual data. So let's just put data as the second parameter, and then let's go console.log data. And maybe just to even be a little bit more explicit, let's call this message here. We could call it whatever we like, and message will do in this case. All right, so we've got our emitter set up over here, and we've got on set up over here so that it will respond to our message when it's emitted. Now let's just put a quick button over here in our template so that we can emit it. All right, I'll come down here in our sidebar. Anywhere is fine, really. We'll just do a quick MD button, and we'll close that off and say send message. And then on this button, we want to do ng-click equals send message. All right, so let's save that and we'll come over and see if this is all working. We'll refresh, and there we have our send message button. Let's just open up the console and let's give it a click. And there we go, our message is coming through. All right, so just quickly to recap that, what we did is in our new classifieds controller, we set up an emit, and it had a name of my message, and it sent through a message of this string here, and then that was picked up in the scope that is the parent scope of the new classifieds controller, and we wanted to respond to that. So on that message coming in, we just logged it out to the console. So now we can use $emit and $on to communicate data between between our controllers. So let's set that up. First, I'll just get rid of this, and let's get rid of all of the other stuff that we just put in briefly. We'll take care of that. And then over here, let's get rid of this. And what we'll want now is a function here that is called saveClassified. And this, instead of just pushing data onto an array, because we can't do that in this case, we want to actually emit it one level up to the parent controller. Everything else will work similarly to how it was before. We still want to take a classified object in that will be passed through from the template. And then we still want to check if it's there. So we'll say if we get a classified, well then we want to emit it. So we'll say scope emit. And we want to say maybe new classified can be the name of this, new classified, and then we want to pass through the classified. And then of course we'll want to close the side nav after we save, so we'll say side nav open is false. And once again, because we're not putting in any kind of user sign up for our application yet, we'll just fake out the contact details for each classified. So let's grab our object again that we had over here in our main controller, and we can use that and just put it as a property onto our classified that comes in. So we'll paste that in, and what we can do is we can say classified.contact is equal to that object with these properties. Okay, so now in our main controller, let's set up scope.$on. And again, we're looking for that new classified coming through. And again, that's because we gave emit a name of new classified right here. And so when new classified comes through, we want our callback function that takes the event and the classified pass through. And then we want to do something with this classified now. First thing we'll want to do is give it an ID because it's not going to already have an ID. And the way that we can do that, just to kind of fake things out once again, is we can do classified.id is equal to our VM classifieds array. We can check for the length of that and then just say +1. And so whatever that length of our classifieds array is, we'll just add 1 to it, and that can serve as the ID of the new classified for now. And then finally, we'll just want to push it onto our array. So VM classifieds push our classified. All right, and so what we'll do finally is we'll just show our toast. So show toast, and we'll say classified saved. All right, and so one final thing that I'm realizing is we need to add our function to our capture variable. So up here, we'll do VM save classified is equal to save classified. All right, so now let's check this out. Let's go back over to Chrome and let's just add in a new classified to test things out. New classified, price 1,000. That's good enough for now. Let's just save that. We got classified saved, and if we come down here now, we see it's right there, new classified. And one thing I just noticed is that when we press save, we didn't get our side nav closing. So let's see if we can find out what's going on. Side nav open equals false, and this is the problem. Of course, we don't want scope, we want VM side nav open equals false. So let's try this again. Let's refresh, new classified, and let's see if this works now. All right, so it closed, we get it saved, and down here we've got our new classified. And we've got our contact information that was sent through as well. All right, so that's how we communicate data between a child controller and a parent controller. Again, we can use broadcast if the relationship was the other way around. If we wanted to send data between a parent controller and a child controller, well, then we could use broadcast and still use $on in the child controller to look for that data that comes through and then respond however we like. All right, so we're almost there with the complete refactor to include our routing. The last thing we'll do is just adjust our edit classified methods. In the next video, the last thing we'll do is just change up how we edit our classifieds.